Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd love to know what you think. Every comment helps me make the next story better. Subscribe to stay tuned. I heard Amanda's voice before I saw the setup. That confident tone she uses when she thinks she's helping. It carried from the living room to the hallway, riding over the sound of rain hitting our windows. I'd just come in from work, still wearing my jacket, thinking about leftover pad thai and maybe a run before the storm got worse. My name is Owen Mitchell. I'm 39. I was reaching for my phone to check the weather when I realized Claire had company. Multiple voices. Not casual. Staged. I walked into the living room and found my girlfriend sitting on our couch with three of her friends. Coffee mugs on the table. Amanda, Kelly, and Trish. All looking at me with that expression people practice before difficult conversations. Claire wouldn't meet my eyes. Owen, Amanda said, standing like she was calling a meeting to order. We wanted to talk to you about some concerns we have. The rain got louder. Or maybe the room got quieter. I set my bag down and sat in the chair across from them. The one that suddenly felt like it was facing a panel. Okay, I said. I'm listening. Amanda launched in. Claire feels suffocated. She needs more freedom, more spontaneity. I'm too controlling about our schedule, our finances, our social life. I'm jealous when she wants girls' nights. I let her talk. My training kicked in. Gather data. Identify patterns. Check sources. Kelly added her piece. Healthy relationships need breathing room. Claire needs to find herself again. Trish nodded along. You're always so present. It's overwhelming. I watched Claire. She sat there nodding occasionally, letting them speak for her. This had been workshopped. The talking points matched too perfectly. I thought back 3 months. I'd suggested we track spending for a house down payment. Claire called it controlling. Then spent $800 on a weekend shopping trip. 6 weeks ago, I had plans with my friend Neil for a Seahawks game. Claire scheduled dinner with these same women the same night. When I kept my commitment, she didn't speak to me for 3 days. Throughout the summer, I'd planned dates and weekend trips. She was too tired or not in the mood, but energized for friend events. The examples they cited were distorted or fabricated. I'd never objected to girls' nights. I'd mentioned our budget once, 3 months ago. That was it. Amanda kept talking. For an hour. Finally, she said. So we just need you to hear this and make some changes. Give her space. Stop being so present all the time. I stood up. The room went quiet. You're right, I said. Everyone looked relieved. Claire smiled tentatively. I looked directly at her. You need freedom. You should have it. All of it. I walked to the bedroom and pulled a duffel from the closet. The apartment went silent except for rain and my movements. Amanda called after me. We didn't mean leave. We meant. I know what you meant, I said. But if I'm the problem, the solution is simple. I packed deliberately. Clothes, toiletries, laptop, chargers. 7 minutes for 2 years of relationship. Claire followed me to the hallway. Owen, wait. We can talk about this. We just did. For an hour. You want freedom. Take it. I texted Neil from the stairwell. Can I crash tonight? My phone buzzed before I reached my car. Claire, when are you coming back? I replied, I'm not. That's what freedom looks like. I drove to Neil's house in Ballard through rain that turned the city into streaks of light. He opened the door, saw my duffel, said nothing, and handed me a beer. We sat in his kitchen. His wife Julie said hello, then disappeared upstairs. You know this was coming, Neil said. I didn't know. I told him about the pattern. The spending complaint that led to more spending. The silent treatments. The girls' weekends every month while she complained I was always home. The performative affection in public and cold distance in private. I kept thinking if I was patient enough, if I just gave her room, she'd come back to center, I said. Like a weather system passing through. Neil shook his head. Weather doesn't pass when you keep feeding it warm air. My phone kept buzzing. I read the messages. 8:47. When are you coming back? 9:15. Owen, this is ridiculous. Come home so we can talk. 9:58. You're overreacting. 10:23. I can't believe you're doing this to me. 11:04. Fine. Stay gone. See how you like it. I silenced the phone and slept 6 solid hours. First time in months. The next morning, I made a list. Find a short-term rental. Forward my mail. Set up a separate checking account. Cancel the joint credit card. Inventory our shared belongings. Keep my work performance steady. Resume my gym routine. Call my brother Grant. I realized how much mental bandwidth I'd been spending on managing Claire's moods. It felt like discovering I'd been carrying extra weight and finally setting it down. I'm not going back to negotiate, I told Neil over coffee. The relationship ended when she let her friends ambush me in my own home. That Friday, I returned to the apartment while Claire was at work. I packed systematically. Books, running gear, winter clothes, personal documents. Nothing contested. I left furniture, kitchen items, decorations. I photographed everything for documentation. I found a studio in Fremont. Furnished, quiet building, month-to-month lease. Signed that afternoon. Claire called when she got home. You just took your stuff? Without talking to me? You wanted freedom. I'm providing it. This isn't what I wanted. What did you want? Silence. Because what she wanted was for me to apologize and comply. I wanted you to hear my concerns, she finally said. I did. For an hour. I agreed with them. You need space. I'm giving you all the space you need. She started crying. It didn't land through the phone. We need to talk about this, she said. We can talk about dividing belongings and closing joint accounts. That conversation I'll have. That weekend, Neil showed me a screenshot. Kelly had accidentally added him to a group chat months ago and never removed him. The messages were revealing. Amanda asked if I'd actually left. Claire said I took it completely wrong. Trish wondered if they'd pushed too hard. Amanda insisted I was being manipulative, that this was classic guilt-tripping behavior. Kelly asked if I'd called. Claire said I was being cold, wouldn't answer. Amanda's response made me pause. She said good, let him stew, that I'd come crawling back in a week. I showed Neil. I'm not playing. The following Tuesday, Claire texted asking to meet for coffee. I agreed. Cafe Allegro on University Way. Neutral territory. She dressed carefully. Hair done. The perfume I used to love. She touched my arm when she talked. I've been thinking about us, she said. About what you mean to me. Good, I said. What have you concluded? That I don't want to lose you. That we can work through this. Work through what specifically? She stumbled. She wanted reconciliation without examination. Your friends said I was controlling, I said calmly. Were they right? You can be a little. Give me one example. She couldn't. Or wouldn't. It's more of a feeling. Feelings matter, I said. But so do facts. I never stopped you from seeing friends. Never questioned your choices. Never raised my voice. What I did do was suggest a budget and keep plans we made. If that's controlling, then we have different definitions. She shifted tactics. Can't you just come home? We'll figure it out. I am home. In Fremont. You have the Capitol Hill place. That's the freedom you wanted. I left cash for my coffee and walked out. The next Friday, I met Neil and Julie for dinner at the Walrus and the Carpenter in Ballard. Claire showed up with her friends. She made a point of walking to our table. Owen, I didn't know you'd be here. She'd checked my location sharing. I'd forgotten to turn it off. Made a mental note to do that. She was overly affectionate. Touched my shoulder. We should catch up soon. Loud enough for nearby tables. After she left, Julie said, that was for the audience. I know, I said. She needs witnesses to say she tried. That night, Claire left a voicemail. Her tone had shifted to anger. You know what? I'm starting to realize this is your problem. You can't handle a strong woman with her own opinions. You need me to be small. I didn't respond. The accusation had no foundation in reality. Neil texted me. Don't defend yourself. That's what she wants. I'm not, I replied. A chess game ends when one player leaves the board. By the third week, I was back at the gym consistently, running 3 mornings a week around Green Lake. I dropped 8 pounds of stress weight I didn't know I was carrying. I slept through the night. My resting heart rate dropped. At work, my focus sharpened. A project I'd been stalled on for weeks suddenly clicked into place. This was what peace felt like. I'd forgotten. My neighbor Beth stopped me in the hallway one Wednesday. You look different. Better, maybe? I'm sleeping more, I said. That woman you were with before. She moved out. I moved out, actually. Beth nodded. I heard the yelling. Not from you. From her. Walls are thin. I always wondered why you put up with it. Validation from an unexpected source. The dysfunction had been visible to everyone but me. Claire switched tactics again. She texted, I've been doing a lot of thinking. You were right about some things. Can we try counseling? I replied, what things was I right about? About us needing to communicate better. That's not specific. I'm happy to talk when you can name specific behaviors you want to change. Mine or yours. No response. The 4th week brought a chance encounter at Rob and Jennifer's house. They were mutual couple friends. Claire had asked if she could stop by Saturday afternoon. I was already there for Rob's birthday. Claire arrived with tears ready. I just miss him so much. He won't even talk to me. Jennifer looked uncomfortable. Rob looked at me. We've talked 4 times, I said. I've been clear about what I'm willing to discuss. See, Claire said. He's being so cold. Rob leaned forward. Claire, from where I sit. Owen left because you staged an intervention with your friends telling him he was controlling. That's a pretty big move. Claire hadn't expected anyone to know details. Her narrative control slipped. Jennifer asked quietly, did that really happen? Claire left shortly after. I stayed for cake. Later, Rob pulled me aside. Man, I always thought you two were solid. So did I said. Then I found out she'd been building a case against me to her friends for months. The intervention was just the reveal. Claire's mother Patricia called me midweek. The conversation was awkward at first. Claire says you two are having problems. We've separated, Patricia. She wanted more freedom. That's not. She says you left suddenly. I explained the intervention. The staged ambush. The accusations without foundation. Patricia went quiet. She told me you'd been fighting about money and time. We discussed a savings plan once. That's the extent of any money conversation. And I never objected to her social time. I'm going to talk to her, Patricia said. I realized Claire had been running the same playbook with family. Curated narrative, missing context. That same week, I closed the joint credit card. It was in my name only. Claire had been an authorized user. I got the final statement. She'd charged $3,400 in the 3 weeks since I'd left. Retail therapy. Or punishment. I felt relief, not anger. I was no longer on the hook for emotional spending. My brother Grant visited from Spokane. We had lunch near Pike Place Market. You sound like yourself again, he said. You've been muted for the past year. I didn't realize how much energy I was spending managing someone else's mood. You know you're not going back. I do. Good. You want help moving the rest of your stuff out? Yeah. Next weekend. Week 5 brought the major confrontation. Claire demanded an in-person meeting at the apartment. I agreed and brought Grant for a witness. Claire opened with, we need to talk about when you're moving back in. I'm not. What do you mean? I mean I'm not moving back. I'm looking for a permanent place. You can have the apartment when the lease ends in March, or we can both move and split the deposit. Her face went through stages. Shock, denial, anger. You're breaking up with me? Over one conversation? Over a pattern, I said. The intervention was the clearest moment, but it wasn't the start. You've been controlling this relationship for months. Maybe longer. Withdrawal, guilt, public performance, private coldness. I accommodated all of it hoping you'd self-correct. You didn't. You escalated. I escalated. You left. You staged an ambush with your friends telling me I was the problem. You orchestrated a scenario where 3 people told me I was controlling, suffocating, and jealous. None of it was true, but you let them say it. You nodded along. That was the relationship ending. I just had the clarity to see it. Claire shifted to tears. I just wanted you to hear my concerns. Then you should have talked to me directly. Not your friends. Not in an intervention. To me. Like a partner. Grant stood near the door, silent but supportive. So that's it? Claire asked. You're just done? I'm done being shaped by someone else's narrative. I'm done accommodating manipulation. I'm done treating love like a negotiation. I recited my terms clearly. I'd take my remaining belongings by November 30th. All joint accounts closed by mid-December. Lease decision by December 15th. She keeps it, or we both move. No contact except logistics. We're over. Claire oscillated between pleading and attacking. You never loved me. You're punishing me. You're being cruel. I'm being clear, I said. That's different. The following Saturday, Grant helped me move my remaining items. We rented a U-Haul. Desk, bookshelf, remaining clothes, kitchen items I'd brought to the relationship, artwork my mother had given me. Claire wasn't there. But Amanda was, providing moral support. She watched us load boxes. You know, you're making a huge mistake. Grant, not me, responded. The mistake was staying through the manipulation. She wasn't manipulating. You were in his living room telling him he was controlling for having a budget and keeping plans. That's manipulation. You just didn't expect him to have a spine. Amanda had no response. Later that day, Neil sent me another screenshot from the group chat. Amanda wrote that I'd actually taken everything, that I'd moved out for real. Kelly asked if she thought I was bluffing. Trish said maybe they really did push too hard. Amanda started to say I was being dramatic, asking Claire if she wanted them to do something. Claire shut it down. She told them to stop. All of them. Just stop. Amanda tried to continue, but Claire repeated it. She said stop. The chat went silent. I ran into Kelly at the grocery store in Wallingford the next Wednesday. She looked uncomfortable. Hey, Owen. How are you? Good. You? Look, I wanted to say I'm sorry. About the intervention. Amanda was really pushing it, and we didn't know the full story. You didn't ask for it either, I said. Kelly looked at her shoes. Claire's been really upset. That's not surprising. But it's also not my responsibility anymore. She nodded and quickly left. 2 days later, I saw Trish at a coffee shop in Fremont. She was alone, working on a laptop. She saw me, hesitated, then waved me over. Can I say something? She asked. I sat down. Sure. I felt weird about that intervention from the start. Amanda was so insistent, and Kelly just went along, and I should have spoken up. What we did was wrong. Why didn't you speak up? She looked at her coffee. Because it's easier to go along than to be the one who questions things. That's not an excuse. It's just the truth. You know what you could do? I said. Next time Amanda's so insistent about something, ask her why. Ask for specifics. Ask if she's talked to the person she's making claims about. Trish nodded. I think this whole thing kind of broke our group. Amanda's still in denial, but Kelly and I have been talking. We're not doing the group thing as much anymore. After she left, I realized the intervention hadn't just ended my relationship with Claire. It had detonated her entire friend circle. Actions have consequences, even for the chorus. The friend group was fracturing. The narrative had collapsed when I didn't come back. Thanksgiving arrived. I drove to Spokane to spend it with Grant and his family. My parents were there too. They'd met Claire twice, liked her well enough, but never pushed about our relationship status. Over dinner, my mother asked, "Is Claire coming for Christmas?" No, I said. We split up. My father set down his fork. When? November. About 3 weeks ago. Grant jumped in. It was the right call. Trust me. My mother studied my face. You seem okay. I am okay, I said. And I meant it. Later, my father pulled me aside while we were cleaning up. Your mother's worried you're putting on a brave face. I'm not, I said. I'm just done carrying weight that wasn't mine. He nodded slowly. Good. That's the hardest thing to learn. Took me till I was 50. Grant found me on the back porch an hour later. The November cold bit at our faces. You know why you stayed so long? He asked. Why? Because Mom trained us to be accommodating. Dad was always stressed about work, and she'd manage his moods. We learned that keeping peace meant bending. It worked for them. Doesn't work for everyone. I never thought about it that way. But he was right. I'd watch my mother adjust, accommodate, smooth over. It looked like love to a kid. Maybe it was love, but it was also a pattern. You broke the pattern, Grant said. That takes guts. It took Amanda ambushing me in my living room, I said. Yeah, but you stood up. A lot of guys would have apologized and gone right back to the same thing. You didn't. That's growth. We stood there in the cold for a while, not saying much. Sometimes the most important conversations are the quiet ones. Patricia called me again on Friday. I talked to Claire. Multiple times. She finally told me what really happened. And I'm embarrassed I didn't see it earlier. She's been pulling this with boyfriends since high school. I thought she'd grown out of it. Pulling what? Creating tests. Manufacturing crises. Seeing who'll jump. I'm sorry she did it to you. I'm sorry you stayed as long as you did. Validation from her own mother. For what it's worth, Patricia said, you're making the right choice. In mid-December, I ran into Amanda at a grocery store in Capitol Hill. She saw me and walked over purposefully. You know you destroyed her, Amanda said. No greeting, just accusation. I kept loading groceries into my basket. I ended a relationship that wasn't healthy. That's not destruction. That's clarity. She's devastated. She loved you. Then she had a strange way of showing it. Staging an intervention with friends to tell me I was controlling when I wasn't? That's not love. That's theater. Amanda's face flushed. We were trying to help her. Help her with what? I never stopped her from doing anything. I suggested we save money once. I kept plans we'd made. That's not control. That's basic partnership. You don't understand women. I understand people, I said. And people who love each other don't outsource their problems to a committee. I walked to the checkout. Amanda stood there, visibly angry but with nothing to say. Because there was nothing to say, the story she'd told herself about being a good friend helping Claire escape a controlling boyfriend had collapsed under the weight of actual facts. I paid for my groceries and left. The interaction didn't bother me. Her opinion had no weight anymore. Week 7 brought Claire's most desperate move. She showed up at my gym at 6:30 in the morning, waiting in the parking lot. "We need to talk," she said. "We've talked. We have logistics to handle. That's all." "I'm pregnant." My chest tightened. Then I thought, we hadn't been intimate in 6 weeks before I left. Nearly 10 weeks ago now. That's not possible. We haven't been together in 2 months. Her face fell. She'd forgotten the timeline. I meant, I could be. We were together before. No, Claire. We weren't. Not for weeks before I left. She shifted again. Fine. But we could have been. If you'd stayed. Using a hypothetical pregnancy to manipulate me is a new low. I walked into the gym. She didn't follow. At work that week, I faced my own test. My manager asked me to take on an emergency project that would require 60-hour weeks for the next month. The old me would have said yes immediately, proving my worth through exhaustion. I looked at my calendar, my running schedule, my plans with Grant, my therapy appointments. I can do 45 hours, I said. With those parameters, I can deliver quality work. More than that, and I'm just putting in time without output. My manager looked surprised, then nodded. Fair enough. Let's structure it that way. I left the meeting realizing I'd just applied the same boundary holding to my professional life. The pattern was transferring. When you stop being available for manipulation in one area, you stop being available for it everywhere. That Friday, I had dinner with Rob and Jennifer again. Just the 3 of us. Claire's been calling me. A lot, Jennifer said. Rob added. She wants us to convince you to come back. And? I asked. Jennifer leaned in. We told her that's not our place. But Owen, we've been talking. We saw things over the past year. Small things. The way she'd put you down as a joke. The way she'd change plans and expect you to roll with it. The way she controlled your couple image. Rob nodded. We didn't say anything because it wasn't our place. But man, you look like a different person now. Lighter. I feel lighter, I said. Turns out I was carrying a lot of someone else's weight. Week 8, I met Claire at a coffee shop downtown to handle final logistics. Not Cafe Allegro. Somewhere neutral. She looked tired. Defeated, but not broken. I've been thinking, she started. I waited. Maybe you were right. About some things. Which things? About me not talking to you directly. About letting my friends get too involved. About making things harder than they needed to be. I nodded, but didn't jump in to minimize or rescue the moment. Can we try again? She asked. Like, actually start over? No. Why not? If I'm admitting. Because awareness isn't the same as change. And because I'm not willing to spend more time finding out if you mean it. I've already spent a year accommodating patterns I didn't name. I'm not going back. Her eyes filled with real tears this time. Not tactical ones. So I ruined us. We both contributed. I stayed too long without speaking up. You tested too much without examining why. But yes, the intervention was the end. Everything after has just been the paperwork. We handled the logistics. Claire agreed to keep the Capitol Hill apartment. I signed the lease termination. We split the deposit. Clean break. All joint accounts would be closed by December 10th. No contested charges. Belongings were already divided. No fights over furniture or dishes. We shook hands in the parking lot. I hope you find someone who's better for you than I was, Claire said. I hope you figure out why you needed to control things so much. For your sake, not mine. Neil sent me one last screenshot from the group chat that night. Amanda had asked if Claire was okay. Claire replied that she was fine, that we were done, that I wasn't coming back. Kelly apologized. Trish suggested dinner. Claire said no, that she needed to figure some things out. Then Amanda wrote that Claire had dodged a bullet, that I was too rigid anyway. Claire's response shut it down. She told them to stop. She said I wasn't rigid, that I just had boundaries, and that she should have respected them. The group chat went silent for real. I signed a lease on a 1-bedroom apartment in Wallingford, close to Green Lake. I painted the 2nd bedroom for a home office. Bought furniture I actually liked. I ran the Green Lake Loop 4 mornings a week. Started training for a spring half marathon. One evening in late December, I grabbed dinner alone at a Thai place in Wallingford. At the table next to me, a couple was having a tense conversation. The woman was doing most of the talking. The man kept apologizing. "I just don't understand why you can't be more flexible," she said. "It's like you don't even try." "I am trying," he said. "I just thought we'd agreed on." There you go again, throwing agreements in my face. "Can't you just be spontaneous?" The man looked exhausted. I recognized that look. I'd worn it for a year. I wanted to lean over and tell him, "It won't get better by accommodating. It'll get worse." But it wasn't my place. Everyone has to find their own exit or stay for their own reasons. I paid my bill and left. The encounter reminded me why I'd left. Watching someone else live the pattern I'd escaped felt like seeing an old photograph of myself. Grant and his family visited for a weekend. We cooked dinner together, played board games, talked without weight. I reconnected with an old friend from work. We started weekly basketball games at a local gym. In early January, Neil asked me for advice. He and Julie were having an argument about his mother visiting for 2 weeks. "Julie thinks it's too long," he said. "Mom's already bought the ticket. What do I do?" "What do you think is right?" I asked. "Honestly, 2 weeks is long. 1 week would be better." "Then tell your mom that. Change the ticket. It'll cost money, but it's cheaper than the resentment." Neil looked uncomfortable. "She'll be upset." "Probably. But upset is temporary. Resentment compounds. You're not choosing between your mom and Julie. You're choosing between a hard conversation now and a harder problem later." He took the advice. Changed the ticket. His mother was annoyed for 2 days, then got over it. Julie was relieved. Their relationship got stronger. Neil called me after. "When did you get so good at this stuff?" "When I stopped avoiding hard conversations to keep the peace," I said. "Turns out the peace you keep that way isn't real." I scheduled regular therapy. Not crisis intervention, just maintenance. Understanding patterns so I wouldn't repeat them. A woman at my gym asked me out for coffee in late December. Her name was Rachel. She was direct about it, no games. We met on a Sunday afternoon. She asked about my life. I asked about hers. We talked about running, about Seattle winters, about work without going into detail. It was light, easy, no hidden agendas or tests. At the end, she said, "I'd like to do this again." "Me too," I said. We had coffee twice more over the next 2 weeks. Nothing serious. Just 2 people seeing if there was something worth exploring. No pressure. No performance. What struck me most was how simple it felt. No walking on eggshells. No wondering if my plans would cause a problem. No monitoring her mood to predict the weather. I wasn't ready for anything serious, and I told her that. She appreciated the honesty. We stayed friends. It was good practice and clear communication. My work performance earned me a project lead position. More money, more responsibility. I was ready for it. 10 weeks after the intervention, I sat at Green Lake on a Sunday morning with coffee. December cold but clear. Mount Rainier visible in the distance. I thought about that Wednesday night. About Amanda's voice saying I was too controlling. About Claire nodding along. About the staged ambush in my own living room. I thought about my response. Standing up. Packing a bag. Saying, "Enjoy your freedom." It was the most honest thing I'd said in a year. Freedom isn't just absence of restriction. It's presence of choice. I chose to leave. I chose not to negotiate. I chose myself. Claire wanted me to be controllable while calling me controlling. She wanted me present but permissive. She wanted a partner who would absorb her moods and never have his own weather. I gave her what she asked for. Complete freedom from my presence, my opinions, my boundaries. And in doing so, I found my own. My phone buzzed. Text from Claire. "I saw you're training for a half marathon. Good for you." I considered responding. Decided against it. I finished my coffee, laced up my running shoes, and headed around the lake. The water was calm. The air was cold and clean. I ran steady, even pace, breathing controlled. I wasn't running from anything anymore. I was running toward my own life. They called me controlling for having a budget and keeping plans. For being present and expecting reciprocity. For treating love like something mutual instead of something conditional. They were right about one thing. I was trying to control something. I was trying to control the uncontrollable. Someone else's willingness to be a partner. The moment I stopped trying to control that, the moment I accepted her freedom and took my own, everything became clear. Freedom isn't permission. It's not given or taken. It's chosen. I chose mine. She can choose hers. And those choices don't have to happen in the same room anymore. Dear listeners, That's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.